Namaskar. This is a new initiative on behalf of the academia. We, the professors of education, teachers of education, teacher educators, have decided to come together on a single platform to share our views with the stakeholders. We have named it Naimisharanya. Naimisharanya was the place where the rishis sat together to ponder over the existing knowledge, to do penance, and come up with new ideas. In fact, the rishis went to Lord Vishnu and said that we want a place where we can sit together and do our meditation, think over, and come up with new knowledge. So he said, let this chakra go with you, and wherever it stops, that will be the place. And that place was Naimisharanya near Gorakhpur, now in Uttar Pradesh. We have named it Naimisharanya because we think we have assembled together by the grace of God to think about our nation. My colleagues from across the country have given so much support, and we are going to ponder over one or the other topic during each episode. School education has not got the attention it deserves. More than 25 crore children are pursuing a school education, and there are a few million out of school children. Practically every family is affected by the decisions in schooling in India. This is perhaps the most important sector of government. We need to examine various policies and practices in schooling through this platform of educationists. From the university departments of education, teachers, teacher educators, and others. However, we are rarely considered. The teachers, the teacher educators are rarely consulted. One of the main reasons for the poor performance of schools, as per the reports, is the poor quality teacher education in India. The recent new education policy draft submitted by Kasturi Rangan also says a lot of things about the National Council for Teacher Education. Various experts and reports have adversely reported on the performance of the NCT as well as the schooling. We would be examining the role of NCT in teacher preparation, which was established in 1993 and started functioning in 1995. We will, as experts and important stakeholders in teacher education, give our views and place it in public domain so that history of schooling in India does not assess us negatively. We will also assess previous policies and decisions so that the future policy makers and decision makers get benefited by our reviews. Why are we doing this? We are educationists, and it is our responsibility. If we have not been consulted, we believe it has been our failure. So, as an important stakeholder of schooling, the education system, we have come together to discuss the immediate situation, the lockdown of schools. So, the topic for today is, were our schools ready for a lockdown situation? The schools had to be shut down abruptly, and all the teachers from schools across the country were asked to engage classes online from their homes. Teachers have started creating lessons for online teaching. The issue that we need to raise, can teachers prepare their lessons and impart online as an alternative to lesson plan that they are trained to make? We have trained our teachers only for teaching in classroom situation. Were they trained to teach online? Did we ever think that classroom teaching and online teaching are different and our teachers also need to be trained? So we would be examining this today. have with us today four eminent professors from four different states and universities of India. We have with us Professor Reva Parimu Raina, who is the Dean of School of Education, Rishihood University, Sonipat, in Haryana. She has been associated with teacher education for more than 25 years and has worked at various reputed private teacher education institutions offering undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs. She believes that by offering an innovative, challenging, and supportive environment, the practicing educators can continue to develop within their professional spheres. Welcome, Professor Raina. We also have with us Professor Saroj Sharma, Professor of Education at the University School of Education, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi. She was the first Dean of the University School of Education, and presently she is on the advisory board, Academic and Research Councils, Board of Studies of many universities in India and abroad. She has extensively lectured on EduSat, SWAM, SWAMPrabha, and other platforms of the Government of India. Welcome, Professor Saroj Sharma.
Namaskar.
We also have with us Professor Ashish Srivastav, a professor of education at the Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Motihari, Bihar. He has taught at the prestigious Vishwa Bharati University, Shantiniketan, for nearly 10 years and also served in various capacities. He is the founder, head, and dean of school education at the Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar. Professor Srivastav has published numerous articles in India and abroad and has been invited to speak by various institutions globally. Welcome, Professor Ashish Srivastav.
Thank you, sir.
We have with us today as well Professor Rajni Ranjan Singh, Professor of Education and the Dean at the Shakuntala Mishra National Rehabilitation University, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. He specializes in inclusive education and has initiated many innovative ideas in the teaching learning of the differently abled children. He has also served at the Open University of Uttarakhand, Vardhaman Mahavir Open University, Kota. He has been a member of the National Council for Teacher Education, Rehabilitation Council of India, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, and many other bodies. He is an authority on the education of the differently abled.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar.
So, welcome, Professor Singh. And let me now start by asking Professor Saroj Sharma. Sarojji, do you think institutions have enough autonomy to prepare teachers as per their understanding and vision of the university, or the NCT has been a hurdle in the preparation of teachers? Why do we not have an online teacher education program? I'm asking this question specifically in the present context that there is not a single teacher education program which prepares teachers for online teaching. Have we landed up in a situation because universities were not ready, or the NCT did not permit? You have been a member of various committees of NCT and you have great ideas. Can you share with us? What would you like to, and how would you like to share?
First of all, I'm happy to be part of this enchanting initiative, which intends to bring dynamic changes in the field of education and also tries to cater educational issues in various dimensions and different sector of today's educational scenario. So you have asked a very apt question. In fact, schooling and the tertiary sector both have symbiotic relationship. Unless we have good teachers and we produce good teachers to the society, we won't be having good schooling also and good school teachers. So this is an interrelated matter. See, you have asked about NCT. Generally it is considered that it is a regulatory body. It makes regulations, norms and standard, but mandate was quite different when it was instituted in 1973 and it started functioning after 2 years. In 2 years it has different mandate. I wrongly mentioned the year, but it has different kind of mandate to empower teachers, to bring curriculum reforms, to make curriculum also. So empowering teachers was the prime objective of this organization, and eventually by the time, I think it has confined due to various reasons, there must be different reasons, it has confined only on regulations and norms and standards, and quality concern was also there. But as you rightly said, that new education policy draft, it has its functioning is vividly scrutinized, and also it was not in very good taste. So we as educationists, we have to think over what went wrong, and
Mm,
what should be our future roadmap. So regulations are there, but still, as educationists, I think that somewhere some kind of, you can say, bureaucratic control, or the person who were not keenly interested in academia, they were somewhere, there was some lacuna on their part or failure on their part. So in today's scenario, we see that in TET, our teachers are not able to get good scores. Percentage of passing the teacher eligibility test is very low. So it shows our failure as academicians, where we have, do we need to reform it? Do we need to bring a paradigm shift in teacher education scenario? Because schools are directly linked. We are the torchbearers of society. We are not producing goods to the society. We are giving teachers to the society, and we have greater responsibility to nurture the human race. So teachers have greater responsibility to nurturing the race. If we are not preparing them for conventional as well as online mode, because of late we have witnessed many apps. Zoom is there, Webex is there, we are discussing on different apps. So are we giving these kind of training to our teachers? Blended learning, no doubt blended learning was part of teacher education curriculum, and in schools teachers were using blended learning. But even after 73 years of independence, when we are struggling with access, equity, and also retention, and also quality, in that scenario there is a big gap. A digital divide is witnessed. So we have to prepare our teachers. Somewhere we failed in preparing such kind of teachers, because no formal training was given to the teachers. Online mode, online courses was not there. Yes, initiation was there, up to government level some initiative was taken, but somewhere there was not much awareness in students, parents, and different stakeholders. So few years back, CCE was there in 4 5 years back, and comprehensive evaluation pattern, and it is much criticized because teachers, stakeholders, students, and also the other stakeholders were not trained in that way. In this pandemic period also, because it is a certain situation, but somewhere I think that such kind of crisis management, or you can say disaster management, we should have prepared in that way, so that if such kind of situation comes, we have to face these kind of challenges. And yes, we have to create a roadmap, because our experience has not been that enriching. So I think
thank you.
uh,
Thank you so much, Sarojji. Yeah.
these kind of loopholes were there, and we have to look after these issues.
Thank you so much, Saroji. Very relevant points raised. We didn't make our education blended, and we didn't train teachers. So we are in a situation like this. Professor Srivastava, Ashish Srivastava, you are uh, in a very important position, in the sense that Motihari is a town but catering to villages and children in remote areas. You train teachers who in turn go and teach in the remote areas. How would you look at the present situation where teachers train to teach online, one, and two, if they are trained and they are doing it, are children in the remote areas disadvantaged because of online teaching? They don't have access to technologies.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for this highly pertinent question. Since you have articulated a wonderful context, and Professor Sharu Sharma has raised many issues which is really relevant. So I would love to take this context and those issues to answer this question. See, online teaching learning in remote places, rural setups, and deprived section of society, irrespective of setups, with be it in remote, rural, suburban, or urban setups, and others who are not only facing the infrastructural or so to say crunch of needed supportive gadgets, but also having other issues like good connectivity of electricity, internet, etc., is in difficult situation.
Mhm.
Recently, I came to know one experience from Uttar Pradesh where online classes were being conducted during lockdown, and a good number of students were in a position to manage
Mhm.
to attend it. But as soon as lockdown got over, their parents started moving to their respective workplaces. They were again deprived of attending classes due to unavailability of needed necessary gadgets to attend online classes.
Mhm.
Keeping in also, if we see the socio-economic status of large number of families in India and number of children in each family studying in schools, it is really difficult to manage separate gadgets along with necessary internet provisions for each child separately to make them enable to attend online classes, that too being conducted simultaneously. Gadgets
Mhm.
are also having their certain limitations, for example battery backups, etc., and we are aware ill effects of their these gadgets on the health of students ranging from KG to PG, be it physical health or mental health. Again, I would like to share from my own experience from one of the very reputed public school from Uttar Pradesh. During this online classes, students were exchanging unexpected and objectionable content, and the teacher, being not so aware on minute nitty and gritty of the technology, could not manage to locate such exchanges. But when situation gone beyond control and reported to higher authority, respective parents and students had to submit written apology or had to face other consequences. The point I'm trying to make by mentioning this is there is a potential threat in using internet, as many of us often experience different unwanted pop-ups and attacks of viruses, etc. Therefore, on the basis of these very brief observations, I would like to suggest rigorous training of teachers. See, which is again a tedious task given the present condition of NCT and its ill functioning since its inception, so far as quality teacher training is concerned. Second suggestion from my side would be teacher training institution at all levels must be equipped so far as technological, pedagogical, content knowledge training of teachers are concerned. Large number of teacher training institutions falls under private or self-financed stakeholders, which is again another challenge and must be regulated with a strong political will
Thank you
for
so much,
achieve.
Ashish. Thank you so much. Thank you. These are very pertinent points, and I think perhaps all of us, the teacher educators, agree on these points. Thank you very much for raising
One
this.
observation I would like to make, that government can make great use of EduSet like gadgets so that radio television may be utilized for larger benefits of stakeholders. It
Yeah,
may be
in the
used in
especially in the remote
personalized.
areas.
Yes, it may be used in personalized as well as centralized manner as per the need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Uh, these issues also raise questions about the education of the differently abled. Professor Rajni Ranjan Singh ji, you have worked extensively in this area and in many states, from Uttarakhand to Rajasthan to now UP and other parts of India. How do you look at this situation, the pandemic and later, uh, the impact on differently able learners? Are they in a better situation because education now is reaching them at their doorsteps, or they are deprived because of the digital divide?
Thanks, a lot of thanks, and first of all, accept my heartiest greetings. And exactly, just you have raised a very pertinent issue, basically, for children with special needs. The COVID-19, the pandemic, basically the coronavirus, has everyone spooked, and hopefully taking steps to control the outbreak and purpose to get through whatever may come of it. But one group faces additional risk and consequences as well as anxieties. They are
mm, mm,
students with special needs. They are person with disabilities. Basically, many disabled students do have specific disabilities or chronic conditions that make the illness more dangerous for them. It has threatened not only disabled students or the person with disabilities of their health, but their independence also. Because the problem of students with disability and the average needs students, they have their entire needs are totally different in terms of education, in terms of rehabilitation services, in terms of medicine, in terms of all. Because it's not issue only related with the education. Even their education depends on their health condition, their chronic illness. So it has affected both the way, education as well as their rehabilitation services and their independence also. Though in
mhm.
theory, all educational institutions officials have an obligation to avoid discrimination of students on the basis of disability or any sociogenic or psychogenic or biogenic variables. But therefore, we must ensure provision of education services if the students has an individualized educational plan, because in normal classroom, in general classroom, you cannot cater the all educational needs of students with special needs or disability. So IEP is must, individualized educational program is must, and for that program you need to make individualized educational plan, even that is called IEP. In receiving services, particularly in terms of rehabilitation services or health services. But in reality, the differently abled learners are the most deprived one and feel the pinch of digital divide. This pandemic condition really have disastrous impact on them. Why I am telling this? Because it has tested the all potentials and functionality of the school education system even.
Mm, mm.
Because particularly in the case of students with special needs, e-learning technology even can be used to provide students with high quality educational instructional, and it should be provided through adapted accessible communication strategies. Because normal communication strategies you cannot educate them, so it must be on the basis of that design must be on the basis of universal design of learning. And universal design of learning means what? That should be least restrictive, that must be barrier free, that must be inclusive design. So both the format, even the conventional one and the adapted one and the modified one, both would be needed to cater the educational needs of children with special needs.
Okay.
And a specific integration, basically, if you deal with students with visually challenged, then they need basically their main the sense organ is touch, and that tactile experience they must be there. And
Mhm.
for hearing impaired students, they must have their educational communication in sign language.
Mm, mm.
So even the lack of the apps, even the lack of the researches in that particular area, so it made it more complex. So exactly at school there is little exposure of online education to them. They are
Mm,
not even
mm.
habituated or exposed to technology enabled teaching learning. But at their home parents are not even specialized, because the parents are not very much specialized in catering the needs of the children with the special needs. So
Mm,
exactly
mm.
it's a entirely different problem. Even the children with the mental retardation, children with intellectual disability, I should say, and children with the visually impaired, children with the hearing impaired, because the parents are not trained even. So online education needs one to one communication to the child. So in online education system, yeah, online the position, exactly, the teachers, even the technological gadgets, the applications, all the apps even are not very much pertinent and are not being developed on the basis of universal design. So exactly, the parents are not specialized. Most of the students, they might not have Android mobiles, because almost 65% students, they reside in the rural areas. So their
Mhm.
electricity connectivity, the internet facilities, and as Professor Ashish Srivastava also raised the issue, basically the customized mobile services and the mobile apps and all internet facilities. Basically, this is the main issue even.
Okay.
So of course, the parents and the teachers, they need a specific orientation, they need a specific training
Yes.
for online education, the technological enabled education, because the parents were not ready. Because the pandemic situation never comes in a planned way. So that contingency planning, and that the planning for the this pandemic situation, our teachers, our parents, our community members, and the society members, they must be ready for that. So exactly, this is the situation. So they are the most sufferer in the area of their education in this pandemic condition.
The image that emerges from the intervention of all the three eminent professors, that neither the National Council for Teacher Education nor the teacher training institutions were ready for such a situation. Children who are differently able, children who are placed in remote rural areas, and others are not really being catered to very well. Revaji, you come from a private teacher training university and you have worked with many private institutions. The Siddiqui Committee report, the Akhtar Siddiqui Committee, which was formed in 2015 and which submitted its report in 2016, says 92% of the teacher training colleges are in the private sector. 6% are aided and 2% are in the public sector. Now, if we are not in a very good situation as far as preparation of teachers is concerned in this country, should we not hold the private initiatives or the private teacher training colleges, institutions for this situation? How would you react? What has been the role and what needs to be done vis-a-vis NCT? Do you think private teacher training colleges have not got the due from NCT? They have a stepmotherly treatment towards private colleges, or they are more favored? How would you react to the situation, and what would you be your comment?
Thank you, sir. Namaskar, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you for this initiative, which is a wonderful one. And I think it's high time that we start debating on these issues concerning the field of education, educational system as a whole. Coming back to your question, I don't think that private teacher education institutions have not come up to the mark. There are some very good private teacher education institutions providing quality teachers to the schools. But yes, the number of such institutions is very small, and let's say that I won't hesitate in saying that, yeah, it's like drop in the ocean. But I would like to make a point here. It's not the question of government or private. We as teacher education institutions are not producing quality teachers. I'm not as a whole. It has become quite evident from the earlier speakers, whatever they have said, that the teacher education institutions are probably not able to. The reasons could be many, but let's come to the point that, coming back to your question, yes, I agree that we do have some such educational institutions in the system that unfortunately can't be called as healthy ones, and the number of such institutions is not less either. the objective of such institutions is perhaps to earn money, but it's not the issue of such institutions only. I think it's because of huge gaps in the system. I would like to mention a few gaps here, such as
Mhm.
the gap between the policy makers and the policy implementers. Policymakers, unfortunately, for the past few years, have not been from the field of teacher education, due to which the finer nitty gritties, the needs, the requirements, and the collaboration required in teacher education are not paid attention, since they're not from the field. The second gap that I would like to talk about here is that the uniform national curriculum framework for teacher education, which all teacher education institutions are expected to follow with a little scope of flexibility also. For a country like India, the diversity is the beauty of this country. There's a lot of diversity in our country, and the uniform framework would not work well, naturally. And the third gap that I would like to highlight here is the teacher education. I think it cannot be done in isolation. It has to have coordination and collaboration with school system, with universities, with other educational institutions as well. And the current scenario, unfortunately, has isolated teacher education institutions. And this isolation has resulted into mismatch between local needs and demands of teachers and what is being supplied to them. And lack of sense of accountability is also which I think we don't see in the system. A gap between theory and practical components, for example. I think self-reflection and practical component and a little bit of research component should constitute a significant percentage of teacher education curriculum. We, as private university, we have the option, and we have tried to fill this gap. But what about all those private institutions affiliated to different government universities? They don't have this option, and probably the government universities and institutions also cannot make much changes in the system. So I think there are huge gaps, because of which all such things have started happening, and I think this is high time we need to think about how to fix those gaps.
Right.
So this is what I
I,
feel.
I think we have a wide range of feedback from the four eminent professors. Uh, Professor Ashish Srivastav from my university, which is positioned in a remote area, I would call, not very developed in that sense. Professor Saroj Sharma from Delhi, which is a metropolitan and the capital of the nation. Rajni has been working in the area of differently able, which is very important. Professor Reva Raina, Haryana, and private university. We have feedback from a wide range of institutions. Quickly from each one of you, one or two things that you would like to suggest which should change, because the overall image that emerges is that we are not in a very good position, we have not really done a very good job, and what should we do in future to have a better schooling in the country. So Professor Saroj Sharma ji,
Yes.
very
So,
quickly, what would
yeah.
be your suggestions?
I wish to say that there is a clear divide between school education and higher education sector. After 2005, we have not been able to give a proper national curriculum framework in schooling. Right? We are still struggling on how to change the curriculum, how to do the things. So it is part of NCERT what they are doing and how they will come up with new curriculum framework. So they should look into this matter very urgently, and also with quality perspective and with Indian ethos, because of late we have witnessed many lacunas where our students are complaining that their culture, their history, their social sciences are not there in equal proportion. So on one side NCERT has to work for national curriculum framework. On other part, in the field of teacher education, every second year, every third year, we are changing the curriculum. 1 year B.Ed program, 2 year B.Ed program, 4 year integrated program. We have become the victims of policy and policy planners. So we have to bring all the stakeholders on one forum, discuss the things, and stick to one curriculum, one syllabus, one norms that will have a better, I think, good consensus of all the stakeholders of teacher education sector. And also you discussed about Siddiqui committee that has also that needs to be come on fore, and everybody should know what were the recommendations of that committee also, because that committee was from teacher educators. So that recommendations are vividly needed. So I think we should make a proper guideline, proper roadmap on the basis of these recommendations that are based on policy grassroots level, as well as looking into futuristic approach in teacher education as well as school education.
Thank you very much, Sarojji. Ashish, very quickly.
Sir, I would like to make three observations. One is rigorous training of teachers is need of the hour. Second is teacher training institutions at all level must be equipped so far as technological, pedagogical, content knowledge training of teachers are concerned. See, a large number of teacher training institutions falls under private or self-financed stakeholders, which is another challenge and must be regulated with a strong political will for achieving the objectives of quality teacher training. And everyone must remember that this cannot be done without revisiting the overall functioning, mandate, and working of NCTE. Also, one should not forget that MHRD in 2008 moved a cabinet note to dissolve NCTE. However, it was withdrawn later. This is the high time to revisit and rethink over it. Last but not the least, I would like to suggest to cope up with digital divide, government can make a great use of EduSet like gazettes, where radio, television may be utilized for larger benefit of stakeholders. It may be used in personalized manner, or it may be used in a centralized manner as per the need. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Rajni Ranjanji, very quickly. What do
Yes,
you think should be the suggestion for the education of the differently abled, taking
first of
clue
all,
from the present situation?
exactly my suggestion would be, my observation is what exactly the education model should be inclusive, because it cannot be segregated in the separate wall basically, so that our the teachers, even the general teachers as well as the special teachers, must have sense of the inclusive culture. So exactly, the inclusive education system must be promoted first. And secondly, the teacher training program must be on the basis of the inclusive educational design. Basically, the teacher education, the training program, that should be must on the universal design. Basically, the learning paradigm of the all students with the special needs or students with normal needs even, that must be on based on the universal design. So universal design is the need of the hour. And third one is what the ministry must have a good policy basically to cater the needs of educational needs of children with special needs in inclusive setup basically. So school complexes must be strengthened. The what the connotation has been, I mean, placed in the draft national education policy. So school complexes must be strengthening on the canons of, on the principles of inclusive education. So it is the need of the hour, particularly when we see the pandemic condition and when we see the basically the specific conditions of students with special needs. They must be integrated in the mainstream system.
Thank you so much, Rajni. Thank you. And Revaji, finally, your final comments.
Yes, sir. So I have 4 points to make in addition to what the other speakers have said. So my first point would be that technology has to be incorporated in teacher education programs. Blended learning, research and self-reflection should make a significant percentage of teacher education curriculum. Secondly, some uniformity in teacher education curriculum, plus local language, local culture and local needs need to be kept into consideration. This flexibility should be given to teacher education institutions operating in a particular area. Number 3, teacher education curriculum and these programs, they should be run in collaboration and coordination with school education, NCTE and NCRT, as Saroji has already pointed out. And there has to be proper coordination between all such organizations, because all these work for school education itself. And the experts who are at the helm of NCTE should be from, these experts should be from the field of teacher education, that I sincerely feel, because you got to be sensitive to the system, and not that others are not, but then all these nitty-gritties of school education and teacher education and NCRT, and these things are, I think people from teacher education are much more sensitive, and they can handle all these issues well. So these 4 points I wanted to communicate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your comments and your time and observations. At the end, I must say, as professors of education from various parts of the country, it generally emerges that it has not been a very healthy condition as far as the schooling is concerned. The image that emerges is that the National Council for Teacher Education has not really served the nation the way it was expected to, for various reasons, which we can go into detail later. But it definitely emerges that National Council for Teacher Education needs to be revamped. We need to look into the needs of the differently abled, who constitute a big number. We also need to look at the children from remote areas who may be deprived because of uh, non-availability of equipments. But we also need to look into training of teachers to teach online. Suddenly we went online. All the teachers started teaching through different means, which is not being done very well because they are not really trained. They are translating their classroom lessons into online lessons, which is not really the philosophy of distance education. We will come back to these issues, but we must say we generally feel we need to make a lot of changes and quick changes. But at the end, I must mention that trigger behind this Naimisharanya. We have a dynamic prime minister. Every time he addresses the nation, we get enthused, we get energized, and all of us were very impressed by his interventions and his ideas about the nation. In one of his interviews, he said, I am only for the nation, Bharat Mata. We are for the nation and the children of this nation. So we got this great idea from our dynamic Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, that we should come forward on our own and give our views. We have said at the beginning, we are rarely consulted, we are rarely heard, but we definitely feel we will be heard and we will be consulted. We dedicate this program to our very dynamic Prime Minister, Paramadarniya Narendra Bhai Modi ji. And with this, I will thank you all once again for the time that you have given for this discussion, and all those who watch and take clues from this discussion. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you
Namaskar.
so much,
Thank
sir.
you. Namaskar.